Hey, what's up? MKBHD here, and I've got you an early look at what I'm just gonna say is the most important electric vehicle we're gonna see all of this year, more than the Cybertruck or the Rivian or the Plaid Model S or anything else that may or may not come out. It's the electric Ford F-150. Because here's the thing, a lot of people buy sedans, and sports cars and minivans and all sorts of other types of vehicles, but the most popular best-selling vehicle in the US for the last 40 years straight is, I didn't say the most popular truck, I said the most popular vehicle in this entire country is a Ford truck. So a new electric version of this flagship, it's a big deal, especially if Ford actually takes it seriously and makes the... So enter Ford F-150 Lightning. So I spent a few hours with it here actually at our studio, and not only has it really impressed me, but I also learned a few things about this truck just from my hands-on that I haven't seen anywhere else in any articles or anywhere else on the internet. So drop a like on this video exclusives. So first of all, on the outside, it looks just like any other Ford truck. Literally, if you weren't looking for hints, you might not know it's the electric one. And that's actually great because the F-150's design is tried and true, but they did add some nice trim with the lights. So the front lights have this nice angular shape, and there's a daytime running light across the whole front that adds this nice symmetry. And the back lights are also a bar light as well. Turns out I'm a huge sucker for full-length brake lights. And then there's also a front grille that's not really a grille, since electric cars don't actually need a huge air intake like that. So it's just a plastic insert. But in my opinion, it still looks pretty decent with those headlights. Then you got the badging. So the blue and black on either side. The little blue lightning electric bolt on the bottom right side of the lift gate. So you can kind of read it from left to right. Ford F-150 Lightning. And the charge port. So it's behind this door that says side. There's another identical looking panel actually on the other side of the car. That doesn't do anything. It's purely aesthetic. It's just for symmetry, not functional. So let me hit you with the basic specs right now, all right? So there's two versions. It exists. It's just under 40,000 and it'll have a 230 mile rated range. Then there's the extended battery option. That'll start at just under 50,000 and that has a 300 mile range. Right off the bat, I'd say that's pretty competitive. With the cheaper version, that would, I mean, if you consider Cybertruck and Rivian, F-150 is the most affordable electric truck option that we've seen come out so far. And so now I've learned a lot about the Ford F-Series in preparation for this experience and for my hands-on. And so if you're a truck person, some of this may be a little bit redundant, but I was very impressed with a lot of the utility into the vehicles. And this electric version is the best of all of it. So it's obviously a pretty big vehicle already. 4 doors with 5.5 foot bed, so plenty of space. And this platinum badge, you can name of a trim level. So it's the highest trim level. It's got leather seats and a sunroof and all this stuff that gets packed in together. And it's called the platinum trim, which can go up north of like, but truck people, I'm telling you, this electric version is the best of the best version yet. So the inside it's still pretty industrial. It's the same 15-inch touchscreen as the Mustang Mach-E with the volume knob at the bottom and everything, which I do like. And then underneath that screen is a little covered storage for a horizontal wireless phone charger and some more plugs. And then you see that gear selector here? So in a laptop there and get some work done. So this button here folds the gear selector down into the center console. And then the elbow rest unfolds into a huge flat working surface, like a counter for your computer or whatever you want to do. Plus, there's a full 120 volt power outlet. So sick. There's a normal glove box, but also a second glove box up top for smaller things. The car will get software updates and improve over time. And for your convenience, it pulls in various compatible charging stations across Pass app. It can route you actually through the correct chargers and account for your shorter range using the onboard scales in the bed of the truck to measure how heavy your cargo is and adjust accordingly. That is really cool. And then the onboard power is super clutch. Lots of people work out of their trucks, as you probably know, whether it's for landscaping or construction or whatever they're doing. And there's 240 volt power and 420s in the bed of this truck. So for power tools, you need to carry a separate generator for things like table saws and drills and big lights that don't run on battery power, because this truck is basically a massive portable power bank. Also, I think it's hilarious that they don't leave the engine running to keep the outlets on if you're indoors, because obviously that's not a concern anymore. This truck is electric. They probably just made a habit of putting the sticker on everyone. Now again, truck people might not be impressed with any of the things I just said because they've seen two huge new features in this Lightning that I kind of guarantee will impress you because you don't see it in any gas trucks. And they are the front trunk and bidirectional power. So the F-150 Lightning, since it doesn't have an engine, instead has room for an active power liftgate front trunk. So not only is it pretty sweet for a pickup truck now to have this covered, locked, weather-sealed storage for things you don't want to store in the bed or in the back seat, but it's also about the biggest front trunk I have ever seen. It fits several pieces of luggage and bags in here like a regular car trunk. It has lights that you can turn on that shine down from the top of the hood when it's dark so you can see inside. If you look carefully at the inside of the hood, that is a diagram of 2 golf bags, that you can fit 2 full-size golf bags in this trunk. Yes, I did happen to have my golf clubs today, so I did test. 1 bag definitely fits in here with plenty of room to spare, so I believe 2. It has this removable cover at the bottom that pops up storage, and it can reposition in several ways to slot in and act as a divider to keep smaller stuff from rolling around. And at the bottom, underneath everything here, you can see that's a drain hole because, like I said, figure if you want to just fill it with ice and use it as a cooler, you might want a drain hole for the water when it melts. So you got that right there. Oh, and there's even more outlets, of course. There's 4 more wall plugs, USB-C, and USB-A. I feel like you can tailgate out of the front trunk now entirely, although you probably have to rename that. Front gating. There's probably a better name out there. Anyway, it's about the most impressive front trunk I've ever seen in any EV. And then there's bidirectional power. So you know how you can already charge up every day at your house? It's great. You can start every day with a full tank or a full battery, and that's fantastic. But there is an optional accessory that actually comes with the long-range version. It's a power inverter, and that lets you power from your truck battery. In the event of a power outage, it'll keep your entire home powered for up to several days. So now you've got a pickup truck, a portable generator, and basically a Tesla One vehicle. Seriously, impressive stuff. Like I said, I'm not a truck person, but this is looking pretty complete to me. Now, my number one concern when I'm looking at like new electric cars was, again, it was pretty good, but I actually learned something from the people at Ford who are walking me through the car that I haven't seen anywhere else that is definitely worth sharing. So that 300-mile range that I talked about for the long-range version, okay, it's pretty good. It's good for their first generation, but it's not amazing or anything like that for coming out next year. But that 300-mile range is the EPA rating with 1,000 pounds of cargo in the trunk. So this truck at our studio with no weight in the trunk was quoting me 367 indicator on the dashboard. The battery was about 80-ish% full, which if I'm doing my math right, that extrapolates out to about 400 at 100%, which right off the bat is a lot less concerning than 300 would have been. Now Ford's not gonna tell me 460 miles, but that's what I found. Saying the size of the battery officially. But for context, usually, I mean, a Tesla Model S is 100 kilowatt hours. If I'm guessing with context, it feels like this battery is probably in the size of a truck, be to 200 kilowatt hours, if I'm guessing. So the reason for doing this EPA rating with 1,000 pounds in the trunk, is they just want to make it as easy as possible for people to switch from the gas version, electric version, and make it a no-brainer. Just make it better at everything. And so they've understood that people don't really want to have to think too hard about the fact that EVs get 300 miles, but then they get a little has to heat up, and then a little bit less if you're towing stuff, and a little bit less if you have to power things while you're at the work site. And they just want to give you a safe 300 miles. So you might end up but at least you'll always have 300 miles. So to me, it's clear Ford is taking this seriously. Like they understand that electric cars are a big deal, and that the electric F-150 has stuff that the gas one can't. Well, mission accomplished. And of course, on top of all that, there's the towing and hauling performance I didn't even mention yet. So on paper, it's funny how far I got into the video without actually saying this. It's the fastest, it's faster than the Ford Raptor. It does 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds at 6,000 pounds. That's crazy. It's not even that important. It's a truck, but it's a byproduct of having that much electrical power. But you're looking at 563 horsepower, depending on which battery version you get. But both versions will put out 775 pound-feet of instant torque. And it's that instant torque that, doesn't make as many headlines, but it's huge. So let me just jump into a little torque band mini explainer. So gas engines, which is in a sort of an arc shape. So if you can imagine, there's a highest point where they produce the most torque at a certain RPM. So let's say 5,000 RPM for this example. So the amount of it drops off at higher or lower than 5,000 RPM. So trucks like the previous F-150, the gas versions would have a bunch of gears. They'd use a 10 to try to mitigate the issue and keep you near maximum torque as often as possible. But now this means the automatic transmission is trying to stay around the same RPM, which is of course much more complicated and a bit less efficient, as you can imagine. With an electric motor, I'm simplifying, but the power band max torque is actually delivered from 0 RPM all the way through this really wide power band. That's just a huge inherent advantage. F150 Lightning is going to be smoother than the gas one. It's obviously already faster than the gas one, and towing should, in theory, be a bit more efficient because you have max torque more often. Much everything. I'm not a truck person, but it seems pretty complete. From every angle I can see it, they've made a more powerful, more responsive, more functional loves that now doubles as a portable electric generator and has brand new features with a covered locked storage, and it just happens to be electric. I think they're up to that and counting. So not quite Cybertruck hype, but I think most of these will be somewhere around that $50,000 to $55,000 price range in the middle there, pretty competitive. Let me know what you would rather have, Cybertruck or F-150 Lightning. I think there's two different types of buyers, but I'm curious what you guys think in the comments.